Good morning. We are on lesson 19 with Brother Lawrence. And it's another letter. And he starts talking about uh, practicing the presence of being with God. And he's telling the person, go ahead and do it in your old age. It's better late than never. He continues on saying, I cannot imagine how religious persons can live satisfied without the practice of the presence of God. For my part, I keep myself retired with Him in the depth of the center of my soul as much as I can. And while I am so with Him, I fear nothing. But the least turning from Him is insupportable. So he's gotten to the point where he's always with God, always has God in the center, in the depth of his soul, as much as he can. And while he's with him, he fears nothing. And in the Bible, it says, perfect love casteth out fear. That means perfect love gets rid of all fear. Fear is the opposite of love. Love is strength. Love gives security. Unconditional love is power. When you know that God will always take care of you no matter what, no matter where you are, because He's always with you, when you know that, and when you know that He loves you that much, it's unspeakable power, because it gives you the freedom. Love is freedom, unconditional love. And he goes on to say, this exercise does not tire the body. It is, however, proper to deprive it sometimes of many little pleasures which are innocent and lawful. For God will not permit that a soul which desires to be devoted entirely to God should take other pleasures than with Him. That is more than reasonable. So here it goes on to say, basically, don't let little pleasures in life, it could be eating delicious food, it could be other activities that are innocent, they're not bad. However, they take your mind off of God. They take your thoughts away from loving God, away from God. Because see, those little things, like let's say going out to eat all the time, or maybe enjoying a human's presence often, can drive away our thoughts of God. And we might not realize it at the time, because at the time it's pleasant. But just being away from God sometimes will bring back the emptiness. Sometimes maybe you go out with friends and you have a really good time, and then they go home, and then after that you feel very lonely. Well, that's because we're supposed to be remembering that God is with us every time, everywhere we go. And sometimes when we're enjoying ourselves with activities or people, we forget God. And that's why the emptiness comes right after, because it's God saying, hey, you forgot me. I'm still here. So when we go out and do things, if it's enjoying a delicious meal at a nice restaurant, or if it's being with good friends or people that we love, or even doing an activity that we enjoy, we really need to remember to include God. And when I'm with a good friend, and I'm talking about God with that person, after they leave or after the conversation is over, I actually go away feeling uplifted. I feel stronger. And that's the difference from having fun with a friend and not discussing God. That person goes away, you might feel lonely, you might be missing that enjoyment, missing that person. But when you've been talking about God, God was with you the whole time. And when the friend goes away, you still have God. And I believe that that's why after a good conversation like that, you go away feeling uplifted and stronger. And it was a blessing. He goes on to say that we must serve God in a holy freedom. We do our business faithfully, that means our work, our life, without trouble, recalling our mind to God mildly and with tranquility, as often as we find it wandering from Him. It is, however, necessary to put our whole trust in God, laying aside all worries, and even sometimes forms of devotion, religious things, because those devotions are only means to attain the end. So when by this exercise of the presence of God, we are with him who is our end, it is then useless to return to the means. But we may continue with God our commerce of love, persevering in his holy presence, one while by an act of praise, of adoration, or of desire, resignation, thanksgiving, and in all manners which our spirit can invent. Be not discouraged by the repugnance which you may find in it from nature, from our own self. You must keep persevering. Don't give up. Make it a habit. At the first, one often thinks we lost time doing this, but you must go on, notwithstanding all the difficulties that may occur. Because in the end, the peace and the joy that comes from the habitual being in the presence of God will be our reward. It's loving God. That's our reward, and the peace that comes from it, and the love and the power and the strength. And he says we just remind ourselves to come back to God, acting these acts of praise, of adoration, of desire, of resignation, thanksgiving, and many other manners. This is how we bring ourselves back to God, to our thoughts of God. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, morning, evening, night, whatever it is, wherever you are. Take care. Bye.